AC Lockyer again, and here we are at another Building a Lifestyle Business presented by SoftWash Systems. And this week I have Pete Happy, and you're with ProShine, and you're out in the Portland, Oregon area.
Close, Pacific Northwest. So we live in a little town called Cascade Locks, which is about 45 minutes east of Portland.
And so most people would, it's like, I don't usually tell people I'm at Sanford, Florida. I usually tell people I'm from Orlando because they go, oh, I know where Orlando is. And so, yeah, it helps a little bit to tell them Portland. So you're said you're about how much far away from Portland?
So 45 minutes east of Portland. And then our business is located, we have two locations, one in Troutdale, and then one in Hood River.
Cool. And so, I remember this past week I PM'd you because I saw you were selling your truck camper. I was going through the whole truck camper group and everything. I was like, oh man, that one looks good. I went, hold on a second. That looks like Pete Happy's avatar. And I'm like, that is Pete Happy's avatar. And so you and I kind of share some common interests and fun stuff. And, I love watching your Facebook feed. I loved, when you did your transformation of your backyard, and you're just such an outdoorsy kind of guy, and you like the outdoors, and you've got a wife and a daughter. Tell me a little bit about your family, your wife's name, your daughter's name, age of your daughter, not the age of your wife, because she'll hate you if you say it online. And but give me a little bit of background about who Pete Happy is and what life means to you.
Absolutely. So I'm married. My wife Monica. Very fortunate to have her in my life. I've got two boys from a prior marriage. Ethan, who's 21, his younger brother Eli is 19, and then Zoe is 6. We have two dogs at home, Ollie and Cisco. As you mentioned, we live in the Pacific Northwest, a tiny little town, 1,500 people in the heart of the Columbia River Gorge, and it's 20 minutes. Our house is about 20 minutes west of our Hood River location and 30 minutes east of our Troutdale location. So pretty ideal spot to live, to be kind of operating our
centrally located. Yeah.
Families, I tend to do activities that I can enjoy with my family. When I'm not working, I want to spend time with them. Wintertime, we love to snowboard, and travel is really important for us. In the summertime, we just started wake surfing last year, and I like to golf. Although I haven't been golfing as much this year, and I think I'm a lot happier person. That's a very frustrating endeavor. And then community involvement. I'm a city councilor for the town of Cascade Locks, and I'm also on the board for our Hood River Rotary.
Well, that's very, very cool. So, the funny thing is, you bought this wakeboarding boat, and while you were down here one time, I think you were teaching Top Gun down here for us for our Top Gun camp. We have a wakeboarding sports complex here, and it was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this wakeboarding sports complex and go try out wakeboarding. So I'm thinking about buying a wakeboarding boat. And I mean, literally, while you were down here in Orlando, Florida, you were like also hot on reconnaissance of getting into this wakeboarding thing. Tell me about that a little bit, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, so ski fatigues are right there. They're built in Orlando, and I know. But didn't Disney have the water sports demonstration team for a while? And
that was actually Cypress Gardens. It was very famous for their water skiing team. Yes.
Yep. So ski fatigues is huge in Florida, and so they are the Orlando Water Sports Complex. I should get some commission from them for a little plug here. But really, they've got a cable park. It's like wakeboarding. And then they also have they've got a surf boat and a ski boat, and you can book boat time and go out with an instructor, Sean Murray, who's just famous in the industry as a professional wakeboarder. And really, I think he's got a PlayStation game named after him. I mean, the guy's huge in the industry. And he actually teaches lessons. You can go out there and get a lesson from Sean Murray. So I went out there because I was like, this looks like fun, something we can all do as a family together. But I thought, well, before we go and spend, 5 figures on a boat, let's go, let's see if this is actually something that I'm going to enjoy and have fun doing. So I took a surf lesson while I was down there teaching Top Gun, spent the day at the cable park, and it just reminded me so much of a powder day on the mountain. It was so much fun, had a blast, and realized this is definitely going to be something I want to do. And I think I found a boat on the flight home, and then I
Yeah.
turned around, drove to Vegas.
You
What's
were
that? AC?
you were wakeboarding like 10 days or less later. You're posting videos on Facebook.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm a man of action. I don't, so we make up our mind to do something and we get it done. The
Yeah.
reason why we got the camper we got was so that we could tow a boat with it. It seems like a lot of my, my decisions seem really spontaneous, but
Mhm.
honestly, a lot of these decisions, and we're going to talk about some of this stuff further as we get into the business stuff. They're things that we're dreaming about years in
Right.
advance. And
Right.
we've got these things in the back of our mind. And then, we kind of work backwards of how do we get there? So
Right.
to some people, they're like, whoa, you just started this wakeboarding thing. Where did this come from? And
Right.
it's like,
And
no,
and
this
you've been
has been
dreaming
in our,
about it for 3 years. Yeah.
that's right. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. So we got a truck camper so we can pull our boat with it. And yeah, it's been a blast. We had so much fun with it last summer, and it's an activity that we can all do together. I got Zoe up last year. She was 5 and I had her surfing between my legs, and just it was just it's an activity that we can all do together, and we can bring our friends out with us, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so part of this love comes from the fact, I think, weren't you a ski instructor?
Yep.
Or you
So
worked the lifts and stuff like that back in the day?
wait, yeah. So kind of my growing up in Oregon, I did work at a ski resort after high school and before I went in the military. I spent a winter working at one of the local ski resorts, and I taught skiing and snowboarding, and I also worked in the lift department as a chairlift operator. And then fast forward a few years, I'm now stationed in back in the Pacific Northwest in Bremerton, Washington. And Bremerton is probably one of the rainiest places in the north, in the the entire United States.
Yeah.
It's super rainy and gray, kind of a depressing. I was walking to work in the morning in the rain. I'm walking home in the dark in the rain. Drug and alcohol abuse it was a real issue. And for me and my own physical and psychological well-being, I knew that I needed to have a healthier, outlet.
Right.
So I went, got hired at Crystal Mountain as a ski instructor because that was I was better at skiing than I was at snowboarding. And every time they ever saw me, this is in about 2000, I was out snowboarding. And they're
Mhm.
like, well, you really should be teaching snowboarding, not skiing. And well, I just started snowboarding about 3 weeks ago, and they're like, well, you'll be great. You'll be great. And in many ways, I feel like it actually allowed me to be a more effective instructor because I was able to empathize with my students.
Right.
Um, but it's kind of funny how life works though, because the person that I was working for at Crystal Mountain, he was the director of skiing. I bumped into him at Mount Hood Meadows about oh gosh, about 8 years later. I'm up there with my family, and he'd moved to Hood River because he was really into the wind sports, and he was the director of skiing at the local resort here.
Wow.
And it was New Year's Day, and half the staff didn't show up to work because they were out partying the night before. Never filled out an application. I haven't taught a lesson in 7 years.
Yeah.
He gives me his jacket with his name tag that says Chris Kastner, director of skiing, and I'm out teaching a lesson. About 20 minutes later. And he's like, "Oh, you're the director of skiing." Oh, yeah.
That's right. Just call me Chris.
That's right. And so that kind of got my foot back into that industry. I was working at the time in retail and
Uh-huh.
really missed working outside. Every job I'd ever had been outside jobs, and minus working retail for Target. And I put in my resume to the HR department, said, just keep me posted if something pops up that I might be a good fit for. And then that year, I ended up interviewing and was hired to become the lift operations manager that year. So it was that's kind of how I made my transition from working retail into working hospitality.
Wow. And so you mentioned in there your military career, and I don't a lot of you don't you're not one of those people like wear that on your shoulder. I mean, it's always not very apparent with you. but you served in the military. What branch was it? And what did you do? What rank did you get to? Give us a little bit of background on that.
Sure. And growing up in Troutdale, right by the Air National Guard. So,
Mhm.
you know, F-14s are flying over my house every day. Top Gun was like the movie when I was a kid growing up,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, I just always loved aviation. I wanted to fly. And I went to, you know, the mall when I was in, you know, I was still in high school. I was 17 years old. And there was an Air Force recruiter and a Navy recruiter, and they're right next to one another. And I went to
And
the
you're like
Navy
Tom
recruiting.
Cruise or Squid.
Yeah. And well, Tom Cruise was a squid, right? He was in the
Well, that's
Navy.
true. Yeah, because
Yeah,
he was a naval aviator. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
that's right. Um, so I got these two recruiters kind of bidding against one another.
Oh
You
my
know, who's going to give
goodness.
me the best deal? And, you know, who's going to give me the job that I really want? What's going to
Hmm.
be best fit for me? So I ended up leaving that day, enlisted in the Navy as a naval air crewman, and um, went home. My mom was kind of shocked, and then I ended up leaving and graduated in June. Left for boot camp in March of 1996. I was in for
Wow.
5 years. I was went in as a aviation warfare systems operator, and what that means in layman's terms is I was trained to hunt and find and hunt submarines. Russian submarines is really what we were what we were designed and kind of trained to do.
Hmm.
However, the time that I was in, there weren't a lot of Russian submarines patrolling. That wasn't our number one threat.
Yeah.
It was really more small boats and terrorism. So we spent most of our time doing surface search and reconnaissance. Deployed to the Middle East. I got four trips through the Suez Canal. So I got to
Wow.
see that, see the
That's so
Mediterranean, and
cool.
you know, really a unique experience to be that, you know, I was, uh, and what's was pretty unique about the platform that I was trained and flew in, was there was only four people in the plane. And it was a carrier based tactical jet. So I got 112 traps on the USS Enterprise, about 800 hours in the airframe. And it was me, you know, 18-year-old enlisted guy with three officers, and I'm the one that's the sensor operator. So I'm running the radar and the sonar and you know, the forward-looking infrared radar, and I'm identifying all the contacts and passing that information on to the tactical coordinator. And so
Hmm.
he and I are kind of running the mission in the back, and then I got the pilot and the co-pilot in the front. But you got me, this kid that's 18 years old, and these three military, you know, officers, and there were times when I had to challenge upward and push on them because I maybe disagreed with their assessment or what we were doing, and I had to challenge them, which is you know, it's not something that I think is typically a position that an E4 is
Right.
typically in at that point. Um, but
But you know,
so that was a really
when done right, it can be healthy.
Yes. So I definitely had to learn how to tactfully challenge upward at a young age.
Yes.
I barely graduated high school. I was a terrible student. I actually thought I was pretty stupid. I always struggled in school and really had a
Mm.
hard time. And then I went in the military, and the education and training that we received was so practical, and it just connected with me. And you know, a lot of it was kind of mechanical, and it just made a lot of sense, and I excelled. And I
Mm.
found that you know, my instructors would put me in a leadership position where now I'm kind of tutoring and mentoring the students that were having a hard time, and that really transformed me. And I realized that I was a whole lot smarter than I ever gave myself credit for.
Sure.
Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
so I did that from 96 to '01. And then after I got out of the Navy, I ended up going to college at that point using my Navy college fund benefits.
Hmm.
I got my 4-year degree in 3 years by going to school in the summer. I got three B's in college. I was, and I had two kids while, you know, Ethan and Eli were both born while I was in college. Bought a house. I mean, I was pretty busy and active, but still, school for me was my job.
Mm.
And you know, I remember doing the math, and you know, and I was like, you know, each class is $70. You know, I'm paying
Right.
for these.
Right.
Like, why am I
Totally.
going to go to school but not actually go to class?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to every class. I read every book. I did every homework assignment. I was just a total geek and a nerd, and loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I sat in the front row and asked questions, and 300-person lecture hall, and just really found that I enjoyed college, and it was a good experience for me.
Well, and part of that was
Like,
because you went there after serving. Instead of going right out of high school into college, you went there after serving. So you had a little bit of a different perspective than many of the students heading to college.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I realized how fortunate I was to have that
Right.
opportunity, because that was not in my mom was a single mom and a school teacher, and her gift to me when I graduated high school is, you can go to Oregon State or U of O, and I'll cover, I'll pay for you to go to college.
Yeah.
My sister, meanwhile, was 5 years older than me and had finished college, and I saw how much of a financial stress that put on my mom, and I didn't want to do that to her,
Mm.
especially when I hated school. So, I came out of the military and was able to put myself through college, without having to take out any loans. And through the Pell Grant, my Navy College Fund, I was able to support myself through school. I bought my books used, sold them used, but I really appreciated the educational experience, and I really valued it. I think you're
Mm.
right, in a much deeper level than I would have if I'd gone right after high school.
Well, let me just say resoundingly thank you so much for your service. I never got the pleasure of serving. I was just born during a time in between that there wasn't a call for it, and my family really wanted me to serve. My grandfather was in the Air Force, and he was a fighter pilot, and my uncle was in the Air Force, and he was a test pilot. He actually qualified for astronaut school, and went through the whole program to become an astronaut. Just didn't make it onto one of the rockets back there in the late '60s, but he was there with Buzz Aldrin and all those guys back then. He was just the alternate and that never ever went up. And but he was on the Johnny Carson show once, so that was pretty cool.
That's
And
awesome. Yeah.
they wanted me to go into aviation and everything, but I was like you, my grades sucked, and I barely got out of high school. And then of course you got to go to the Air Force Academy, and certainly through college, but better if you go through the Air Force Academy to become a pilot. And I was just not cut from that cloth. But I really admire people that do it, and aviation is very, very close to my heart. But thank you for serving. That's very, very cool. All right, so you've done all this stuff. You got all this great background, really, really interesting background. And you decided you wanted to be an entrepreneur. Why?
Well, at the time, I was working at the ski resort, and I accepted a promotion with the company, from a manager to one of the 14 company directors. And
Mm-hmm.
there's 1,000 seasonal employees up there, and so we got 14 directors that each kind of run their each department.
Mm-hmm.
Part of what was attractive to me about that promotion was the fact that it was a seasonal position and it would give me summers off. And I thought, well, this will be a great opportunity for me to, spend more time with my family.
Right.
But I needed something to pay the bills and get through summer. And I thought, well, I heard a podcast. I think it might have been, but this is before podcasts. I think we're really a thing. It might have just been on the radio. But remember, there's a guy that was a window washer in college. And after he graduated college, he made more money in this 3 months washing windows back in his college town than he did in the other 9 months for his salary, his job that he had got hired for out of college. So he would take time off from his career to go back and service his clients and wherever he went to college. And I thought, if that sounds like maybe something that would be a good fit. It would dovetail nicely with our my winter work. And the cost of entry is pretty low for window washing.
For window washing,
And I really didn't have, it was pretty naive, honestly, about the tools required to get the jobs done. Started with $180 worth of hand tools. And I was, so I was unemployed for the summer from my winter work. I was collecting unemployment. Part of that unemployment requirement is that you do a job search.
Mm-hmm.
And it really felt unethical, and like I was lying every time when I do my weekly call, and I'd say, "Oh yeah, I'm looking for work," because I really wasn't looking for work,
Right.
because I knew I had a job to go back to, and I felt like I was just milking the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out about a program through the employment department in Oregon called the Self-Employment Assistance Program.
Mm-hmm.
And for people that have the right background and experience, that live in areas where maybe you aren't able to find work that would be in your field or you'd be qualified for because you're
Sure.
just in a small town, then maybe the right option is, instead of you trying to find a job, maybe the right fit for you is to actually start a business.
Oh,
And
that's
so the
cool.
self-employment assistance program was that. So I was able to collect unemployment while starting a business. And I thought, well, this is really a testament to government programs that work, because
Right.
I went from being unemployed to starting a business that now employs
It
other
employs people. Yeah.
workers. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So
That's
it was a
great.
real win, and I also was able to reinvest a lot of the money that I was making to buy the tools I needed to do the work that we were being contracted to do. When I first started, I had $180 worth of tools that I essentially started with. Not a single ladder on my
Mm-hmm.
vehicle. I thought I could do it all with poles. I had no idea that you really need ladders. Was working out of the trunk of my Toyota Prius, and as I come across a job where I needed a new tool to access a window or to get something done, well, I would be able to
Yep.
go buy it.
Yep.
But I still remember, there's one house where it was 3 stories and there was an overhang, and there was no way with the hill and the slope I was going to be able to ladder up to this window. And I needed a water fed pole to get to it. And I called up one of my competitors who I had a really good relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I just need your help. I got one window I
Right.
can't get to. Can you come wash that one window for me? And they said, well, we might as well wash all of them if we're going to be there, the setup and tear down and travel time and all that. So he
Yeah.
quoted me like $400 to wash this one window. And I was like, why would I pay him $400 to wash this one window when I could just go buy myself a
Right.
water fed pool and a water filter and get myself going? Well, I didn't have the $700 to invest in the equipment at the time. And I reached out to my dad. He loaned me the money, and which allowed me to purchase that first water fed pole. And after the first 2 weeks, I had him paid back. I think maybe the first job I paid him back. I mean, it paid itself off really quickly. But my revenue per hour, I think it tripled when I
Right.
got that.
Yeah, because the efficiencies of the newer technology and being able to do the water fed pole work. Yes.
That's right. But it was kind of funny when it showed up. I got the filter and I got the brush head, but I didn't get the pole. And so I was like, okay, so I'm literally laddering up to windows and brushing them with the brush and
Oh my
rinsing.
goodness.
But what it allowed me to do is I could see close up the results of my work, and I could see where I was, missing, the bug poop and the bees,
Right.
the bug spots, and where I needed extra agitation or where I was getting water on the frame and it was dripping.
Right.
So I learned really quickly, and I was able to refine my technique. And then when I got the pole, I was actually able to, use those lessons to be more effective and get better results. And I learned really quickly because of that.
Okay, so the entrepreneur thing was great because you had that season that you were off work. It wasn't snowing, so you had to do something else, and that got you into the business. And cleaning was good. You saw, the video online. You went, hey, window cleaning. That seems like it would be good, low cost of entry and all. So eventually, you get this business going. When did you really go full time with the window cleaning business?
So it was 2018 when I guess quit my day job.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like my career, my salary, it was almost preventing me from growing because it allowed me to slack on my business because
Right. Yeah.
I could,
Because you didn't
I
really have to work that hard. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I think I realized that I needed to give it the full attention it deserved in order to grow it to what it could become. And I also realized, again, in my naivety, I thought that window washing would be a good, dovetail with my winter work. But the reality was spring and fall were the busiest time for
Right.
both. at the ski resort, that's when we're either ramping up to get started or we're shutting down, and it was really busy. And same thing with window washing. It was really busy in the spring and in the fall. And I
So your
couldn't
two
do
worlds were colliding and you had to make a choice.
I had to make a choice.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I made the decision to leave Mount Hood Meadows, and I tendered my resignation. I guess it was 2017, but it was spring of 2018 is when I left. So I spent 10 years there, and felt like I could leave, having left my, I guess, leaving on good terms, and I'd accomplished what I'd set out to do. And the business is ready for me to kind of move forward.
Right.
So, that's when I really got serious in focusing on the business.
So we were going over some of those numbers before the podcast. You and I were talking, and so your first full year of window cleaning, you mentioned a number. You said you did X. What was that first full year that you did?
Well, that was you're talking in 2013 when I started the company, or are you talking in 2017, the year before we added soft washing?
That was at 2017. That's when you gave up your day job and went full time really with the window cleaning.
Got it. So yeah, 2017, we did 170,000 in revenue.
170,000. Yeah. And so as an owner operator, approximately how much of that were you keeping at that point? Your salary that came out of that.
Oh, probably about 100 grand.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So window cleaning, not a lot of supplies to it.
Oh, yeah. And you coupled that with, at that point, I was making more money in the 6 months I'm washing windows than I was in the 6 months I was working for the ski resort. And in, significantly less time commitment, a whole lot less stress.
Right.
And, and it was a lot less physically demanding on my body than my winter work was. So it was, and then fast forward to 2018, August 2018 is when we added our soft wash truck to our fleet. And we did $250,000 in 2018. So $90,000 by adding soft washing. And that's when we added our truck in August. So we're talking August, September, October, November, December. So we're talking just a few months. We did $90,000 of additional revenue on top of what we'd done the prior year. And then the year after that, we did 450,000.
That's basically, because a short period of time, if you were to amortize that out, you doubled your business at that point by adding soft washing. So let's talk about adding soft washing a little bit. This is presented by SoftWash Systems. We don't want this to be an infomercial about SoftWash Systems, but you are a SoftWash Systems licensed affiliate. And at some point you discover soft washing and you discover SoftWash Systems. Tell me about how that happened, how that came about. Give me your SoftWash Systems story.
So I guess we, as washing windows, kind of led us to gutter cleaning, right? We've got a lot of customers that they need their gutters cleaned. And so we're up there cleaning gutters. Now people are asking us, well, how about that green stuff that's growing all over my roof? Pacific Northwest, we love it because it's green, but everything's green. Everything's green, including the roofs, right?
Yes.
And we tried the zinc powder. We'd get up on people's roofs and we're sprinkling zinc powder on their roofs. And that was just not effective. We found that it was an annual application. It was never getting rid of all of it. It didn't kill it on site. We're waiting for rain to wash it down. If it gets windy, it might not even stay on the roof. There are places it wasn't really getting to. And so then the moss would just continue to spread and procreate. And it's now back year after year after year. And the customers aren't real happy with the results. Yeah. So, like so many people have mentioned, I'm Googling roof cleaning and moss treatment. And what do I find? It's your video with you in that white suit, soft washing the roof, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I need to learn more about, soft washing. And this seems like a better alternative to, for moss treatment on asphalt shingles. So I didn't have I wasn't quite ready to jump in full, and purchase a skid right away. I wanted to beta test it and, proof of concept. So I bought a soft wash setup from another vendor, and it had a 12-volt pump and some hose, and we were single batching, and but it was just a way for us to test to see
Yeah,
how
get started.
effective it was.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was, I'm talking, this is pretty bare bones, and I call it ghetto fabulous, right? I had a 1997 Toyota Tacoma that didn't have a straight body panel on it, a little bit rusty here and there, running jumper cables to my 4x8 utility trailer that had a trash can, a 34-gallon trash can that I'm single batching in. I had a 50-gallon bleach, container in there.
Yeah, drum.
And I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, and my personality type, so it won't surprise me that I had a calculator on my phone from a spreadsheet where I could put in the what surface I'm cleaning and how big it was, and it told me exactly how much I need to mix up and how much bleach and surfactant and add how much water and mix it all up, and it worked, and it was, I mean, I just was blown away. Going out, the first roof I did, I think it was around $800, and it took me about 20 minutes to spray this thing. And I
Yes.
said, compared to $800 at that time was a day of full, window washing.
Right.
And I'm, so that was my proof of concept, but I'm only, I'm washing I'm spraying roofs by myself. I don't have anybody doing any plant or property protection, so I'm getting complaints about killing people's plants. I remember I bleached out somebody's beach towels they had out hanging on their deck. I didn't even know anything about plant and property protection. So I realized that the soft washing is effective, but the way that I'm going about doing it really wasn't going to uphold our service commitment. And rolling up with this dented up, rusty truck, and running jumper cables, it just wasn't really exemplifying the professional values that we were trying to uphold as a company that we were building.
And it was time to step up your game.
That's right. So I'm on the SoftWash Systems website, and I'm at the bottom. You had kind of some photos of some of the people that use your equipment, and Brandon Vaughn shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd heard Brandon on so many podcasts, Josh Latimer's podcast. I'd heard him. And this guy, I had so much respect for Brandon because he just always was sharing so much wisdom and knowledge. And so I sent him an email, and I said, I kind of introduced myself and explained kind of my background and where we were at, and my fears. I said, I don't want to go out there and spray someone's roof and leave their deck looking like a pair of 80s acid wash jeans.
Right. Yes.
And I didn't know if he'd even write back, he'd read it or what. And he did. He wrote back to me and invited me to come and do a ride along with Steve, their director of operations at the time. And so I went out and spent a day. It was supposed to be a full day with Steve. And what's really amazing, that was the day that my wife went into labor. So the day that soft washing really started with ProShine was really the day that my daughter was born. So it was an important day for me, May 25th, 2018. And mind you, I've got two other kids. Labor generally does, it takes 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
And so my wife wakes up.
Generally get a little bit of a warning.
Yeah, she's got some little contractions going on, but we think we don't know if it's just those practice contractions or how if it's really the day. And she goes to work. I drive into Troutdale to go spend the day with Brandon and Steve, and she calls me and she says, this is I'm home from work. This is really things are picking up. It's getting serious. You need to probably start heading this way. Well, an hour and a half later, I haven't left. I'm like, I'm hanging out with Brandon, this guy that, and Steve. And I'm like, and she's like, no, you really need to get home now. And so I race back and I get her to the hospital. Zoe's born 35 minutes later.
Wow.
So we made it. But it was a transformative day for many reasons. And I think I put in my order for our first skid the next day. Seeing that equipment in production and the way that the assistant technician and the lead technician were working together, I watched them do a roof wash. I watched them do a house clean, and I saw that the way that the two people worked together. to prevent the property plant damage, protect the property, work efficiently. They're not coming up and down the roof to mix up more chemicals. They go from spraying the roof to cleaning the house with just a turn of a dial. There's no manual mixing of chemicals. I'm like, this is the future. This is the way to go.
Yeah.
And I remember asking Brandon if the equipment was really worth it because it's expensive. And he said, well, you can build your system yourself. You can do all this stuff yourself. Sure. But it's just a time accelerator. You're going to, instead of having to learn by making all of your own mistakes, you can learn from AC's mistakes and all the other mistakes that everybody else has made in the network that they're willing to share with you. And I think that was, it's not just SoftWash, it's SoftWash Systems. And it's really the business systems that I learned by being a part of SoftWash that really were helpful for us to move forward with our company.
Have you been looking for an investor-grade home service business opportunity? SoftWash Systems is what you've been looking for. Come to Discover SoftWash and discover your potential. Learn how we provide you with the equipment, chemicals, education, and support for your soft washing business. For more information about becoming a licensed affiliate, call our Shield support agents at 855-763-8669 or visit our website, www.softwashsystems.com/discover. Join the revolution. Join SoftWash Systems.
So you've been in this a while now, and you've watched it. Even we've grown and evolved and everything over the 5 years or so that you've been with us, 6 years. And you've built this lifestyle business. You've got 2 locations now, and you talked about that you live right perfectly kind of in the middle. You go half hour this way, half hour that way. And you're building this business. What is your end goal? Where do you want to get? What's kind of your 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, if you were to talk about that?
Sure. And I guess I can't really talk about where we're going unless I at least touch on a little bit of our most recent.
Yeah.
And as some people in the network are aware, but many other people maybe aren't, we've had some real trials and tribulations in our company in the last 12 months. We had 100% turnover. I mean, every single person that worked in the company, we had a couple people that came back this year, but by the end of March, they were gone. And it was a real moment of reflection for us to figure out, how did we end up in this position? How did we end up, I guess, in a position where we lost everybody? And what did I do as a leader? How did I fail to create this problem? And what can we learn from it to move forward? There's no way that we can get the second location going until we get our Hood River shop up and running smooth. So I better learn from my mistakes so that we don't repeat them again. And what I really, through that introspection and thought, I realized that where we really fell flat was I did not do a good job of holding people accountable to our company values. Many people that we had in our company were here with us before we went through our big rebrand, and we did our deep dive into our identity and revamped our company values and identified what was important to us. And I realized that some of the people that were in leadership positions in our company did not exemplify our values. They just were not who they were. And there was no way for us to be able to move forward with the company with the people on board that were not in alignment with our company values.
That's a great point.
So we got rid of, I guess, pulled off the Band-Aid, and just, it was a real painful experience. Financially, we took a hit because we didn't have the capacity to get the work done. And psychologically, many of these people were close friends, and people I was was emotionally connected with. So it was pretty tough. But I realized I was doing all of them a disservice as well by keeping them in positions that maybe they weren't a good fit for. And I needed to open them up for future opportunities by kind of letting them move on and encouraging.
That sure is a nice way of saying it.
Well,
we need to open them up to future opportunities.
That was my mindset. I was like, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. you kind of reached your maximum growth with us, and you're not going to be able to grow any further with our company. But you're ready for that next step in your career path, and we're not going to be able to provide that for you here. So it's time for you to move on.
Now this can be humorous stuff sometimes you talk about, but in all seriousness, I remember when you were going through this, you called me, and you were, I wouldn't say at the throwing in the towel point, but you were certainly in the questioning, what if I fail? What if this thing crashes? What if I can't recover from this? What are the next steps for it? AC, how do I get through this? Do I give up my shop? Do I give up this? And you were really digging in on, you're taking personal responsibility, what were your personal failures, but also to trying to get some coaching on how to move forward with this. You were really at a crossroads, and this was, and for a lot of people, they don't know, this was not that long ago.
No, I think this was probably February, March.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at our budget, and I'm looking at our cash flow forecast, and I'm thinking to myself, if we don't deliver, we could be out of business by June.
Yes.
Right. And so this was terrifying for me. But I also believe that you have to put yourself in a position, create pressure on yourself to perform. I mean, that's what I did when I quit Meadows, right?
Yeah.
I quit the job that was holding me back. And so I put myself in a position where we're either going to perform or we're not, and we're not going to be around.
In the South, and I know you're in the Pacific Northwest. In the Southeast, we call it crap or get off the pot.
There you go. So that's where I was at, and I was really not sure, if we were going to be able to make that transition. We were struggling to find people, the right people. We had plenty of applicants, but we were having a hard time filling those positions. And I was not going to, invite crazy back into our company. We're not going to do that again. We're not going to go down that path. I don't want drama. I'm not going to sacrifice on our company values.
Amen.
We are going to learn from our mistakes. We're not going to repeat them again. So we were very selective about the people we brought on. And I'm just so thankful for the team that I have. These guys, they're new. These guys all started with me this year. Our lead tech on our SoftWash truck, he's never done this kind of work before. He was a technician for an appliance repair company, so he kind of had that service mindset and background. He's an entrepreneur. He's a blogger. He's very problem solver, but he's also got a servant heart. His assistant technician, this guy, he's got big dreams and goals. He wants to go in the Coast Guard to be a rescue swimmer. I mean, we're looking for people that have goals and dreams, driven and pushing themselves.
Yeah.
And I want to surround myself with people that want to improve themselves.
Yeah.
Being around people like that makes me want to work hard for them. Right. And then we hired someone to be our lead tech on our window truck. And it was about this time that our territory manager, then he turns in his notice. And this guy was somebody that I'm not going to put in the crazy column. He was somebody that I wanted to retain him. He'd been with me for a long time, and he was performing well. But he's like, everybody else has kind of moved on. I think it's time for me to make that move myself. But this guy that I hired to be our lead technician on our window truck, well, before this, he was the sales manager for his grandparents' furniture company.
Yes.
And he's got 6 kids, and he's a DI. I'm like, oh, you are the right personality. This is perfect. And so we switched him over into the territory manager role, and he started training with Brian as he was leaving. And that was a fairly smooth transition. But now I've got nobody to run our window operation. I've got 2 guys on our SoftWash truck, and I'm running the window truck by myself. In the month of May, we did $70,000 worth of work with 3 of us. 2 people.
So don't jump right into that right now, because let's put an exclamation mark at the end of all of that you just said. It's like, okay, things aren't going well. I realize I got to change the crew out. I figured I'd change a few positions, but we end up flipping the entire crew, 100% turnover, get all new people in and everything else, get people in the right seats on the bus. Put that all together, go through this real trying time. And now what kind of months are you having?
Yeah. So that's where we're at. So March and April were, we were a little slower, right?
Mhm.
Because we had to dial back capacity because we're training. So we were behind in revenue. I think year to date, we're down 40,000 to last year. And most of that was from March and April.
Yeah.
Fast forward to May. Now these guys are through their 30-day training period with us. They've done all of their online training. And we get into May, which is really our time when things pick up and get
Mhm.
busy for us. And we did, like I said, $70,000 worth of revenue with our two guys on our SoftWash truck and me running solo on our window truck. We have, in years past, we've been operating with around a $2,500 revenue goal for production on our SoftWash truck.
Mhm.
$1,500 was a revenue goal on our window truck. And I'm doing $1,500 days by myself.
Yeah.
And I realized that I would, I really took a lot of input from my team. We're asking them, what do you think we should set our production goal for the day? What do you think we guys, we can do, guys? And they're telling me the number. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, 1,500 sounds reasonable. Well, we were running two window trucks in the past few years. We were running two window trucks peak season at $1,500 a day. And they're getting, that's really one person can be doing that with the
Right.
equipment we
Totally. Yes.
but with two people on the truck, they're wrapping up at 1-2 o'clock in the day. Well, they want to get their hours, so they're milking the clock. And I didn't even realize that this was really happening until I get on the truck and I'm working on production. I realize now, fast forward to the end of May, I get a system technician. I hire someone to come work with me, and we're doing $2,000 days with someone that's a weekend.
Wow.
And without and we're finishing on time. It's not stressful. And I'm like, all of a sudden my mindset is shifted to what our capacity really is.
What it
on our
really
window.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Instead of
And,
letting people
so-
dictate it to you. Yeah.
That's right. So we made the decision when we're launching our new location out in Troutdale to shift some resources. We bought a second SoftWash truck that we were never really put into production in Hood River, and we had a second window truck, and realized that sometimes the year we needed two, sometimes the year we really only need one. So we thought, well, why don't we just run a 3-person crew? And really, it's a truck and a half at that point. And I think that that'll meet the needs and be able to keep up with demand.
Yeah.
And then we can shift those 2 extra vehicles over to launch our new location.
So you had a really good May and you've had a good June. Are you having the months that you had before? Or are you having even better months now as far as revenues?
So I was really surprised when I ran our month-to-date numbers for June, and we're actually up, I think around $8,000 month to date for last year in June. That's with one person working with me that's now been with me for he's in his 4th week, and 2 brand new guys on our SoftWash truck. We're doing more revenue than we did with our veteran crew with 2 window trucks last year. We do have some increased overhead with our new shop and location out there. And we've been able to pay that increased overhead with our reduction in labor. And so it's funny how life works, but everything that seemed like a mess and was falling apart, I think it happened for a reason to put me in a position where we could absorb that additional overhead and rebuild the team, reset expectations in our processes, and things are running smoother and better than ever.
That's awesome.
It's not just about how much money we're making. One of the KPIs that we track is we look at how much, on Monday of every week, our admin, she'll put in how much work we have scheduled for that week. The following week on Monday, we're running our numbers. We look at how much production did we get done the prior week. So that's what we take that number, how much work did we get done, and we divide that by how much work we had scheduled, and that is our operational effectiveness. Last year for our operational effectiveness was 92%.
Okay.
This year, with our brand new crew, we're running at 99.6%.
Wow, that's incredible.
And really, that number, what that represents is happy customers, and all those jobs that were not able to get done because the team wasn't able to complete the work that was on the work order for whatever reason. Now our admin has to reach out to those customers and reschedule the work and shift things around. It was just a ton of work for our admin. Now we just go out and we get done what we got scheduled to get done. I'm just so proud of these guys. And they're problem solvers. They're just relentless about self-improvement and getting better and learning from their mistakes. And I just really appreciate them.
That's awesome. All right. So we're coming up against the hard stop here on the clock. If you could look at somebody that's looking at becoming an entrepreneur, entering the cleaning business, considering soft washing, and looking at possibly joining up with SoftWash Systems to start their soft washing business in 30 seconds or less, what would you tell them? I
guess two things. One, find someone in your area that's already successful. And I'm not talking just there's tons of soft wash companies out there.
Right.
But look at their Google reviews, look at their website, really do a little deep dive into who they are, find the best company in your area, reach out to them and go see if you can shadow them. Those companies that are successful, they will open their arms to you. They'll embrace you. They'll bring you in. They'll let you. We're not afraid of competition. We bring each other up. We support each other. We want other people out there that are doing good work because we help each other.
Yep.
So I think that's number one. Number two, I didn't realize how valuable my email list is. So get those emails from your customers from the very beginning, because that email list in the long run will be incredibly valuable for you for marketing.
It's awesome. Hey, Pete, thank you so much for being on. It's been an incredible conversation. And man, we could almost, if I didn't have a hard stop, I would keep going. We would just turn this into a two-parter, man, because you've got so much great information you're unloading. Maybe we'll have to come back and revisit this. One of the things I wanted to do that we've been thinking about is maybe doing one of these podcasts and bringing on all of the two truck companies and talk about, the ups and the downs of adding that second truck and, and what it takes. Because we've got a lot of 5-star companies, two truck companies there on the West Coast, amazingly. And so that would even be fun to have you back on. But man, I appreciate you being on. It's been a great conversation. Thank you so much. And hey, guys, if you're thinking about getting the soft washing, give us a call, SoftWash Systems. We might be able to help you in some way erase that 18-month, 2-year learning curve and be able to put together a business that's sustainable so that you can build a lifestyle business and the tail doesn't wag the dog. Okay. You can actually have a business that allows you to enjoy your life without being buried in your business. Okay. So that you can achieve your life's goals and dreams. Okay, guys. So this is AC Lockyer, and I got Pete Happy here from ProShine. And as always, guys, go forth and prosper. We'll see you later.